The love part is easy, and the respect part is demanded.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Well said.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say it's kiwis and tangelos. You're either in the mood for it or you're not. They're both good.
I remember the first time that I met Jennifer. She was much younger, and then when somebody said Ivy, he was pretty damn close. She was very young, and you hear the timbre, the sound of her voice, which is this very delicious grown-up woman. And I just remember staring at her because it was so disconcerting. She was this young, fresh, kind of hyper girl with this very rich, deep, sexy voice that could turn it out, and her acting. And when you said Ivy, I remember, I don't know, was that Deke?
It's Carmen, it was Deke.
Deke and Carmen Sandiego. And I remember going in, and I was auditioning for some little thing, and I was in there with Cree Summer, who's another little
whole different sound.
Yeah, a whole different sound, a whole other genius. But I do remember that was the first time that I had ever heard Jennifer's voice, and I thought, I've just never seen anybody look one way and sound completely a different way. That should give you all hope, because it doesn't matter what you think,
Right.
obviously, you know.
Yeah, when I was like 12, I could order anything for me and my friends over the phone.
So I know we have one question. Are there any other questions? Right now?
Where's the first one?
Where's the
So
one?
the first one is,
It was me, actually.
yeah.
Getting that first part, doing voiceover work, how difficult is that? Because it seems like after you get one of them, like you guys, like you're saying, you're standing around all of a sudden, like you need somebody to sound like a monkey that's really pissed off that needs coffee or something, and you're suddenly doing 5 different voices now.
I find that everybody's got their own story.
Yeah,
how
how
they
they
got that
started.
first job. I mean, my first job had several years of experience behind it that nobody knew about or took seriously, because I lived in a smaller market, and sort of San Diego's a smaller market than LA. And I got a lot of experience in that market and did a lot of time in that market before I came to LA. And when I came to LA, nobody takes your other work seriously. So if you show up and you know what you're doing and you have experience, you have the chance to hit. Because you only get one shot to walk in that door the first time. But that was my first time story. Everybody here, I'm sure, has a different first time story. You know?
I was with Maurice. I've known Maurice since 1985, 86.
Yeah.
We were at the same agency for years, and I was singing and doing stand-up at a wake. I know, right? Those are one of those only Candi Milo stories. Had a stand-up at a wake for an agent at Maurice who died. And so,
You're killing me.
I know, right? Don't move! Don't move, I'm not done. Don't move. And this was his celebration, and it was ridiculous. And his celebration, and our agents, Nina and her assistant Charles, were in the audience, and they came up to me, tears in their eyes, and I'm thinking I am one hot singer. So they come up to me, and they're handing me their cards, and I'm like, oh my God, William Morris, I'm going to get a record deal. And they were like, do you have a voice? And I was like, yes, thank you for cartoons. And I thought, oh my God. And I ripped off the card. I ripped it up, and I thought, you need to go to Hale. I am not doing this. And I was listed, because those were the days before Scary People, and so I was listed in the phone book, and she called me the next day, and I went in and I booked my first job with Maurice and Rob for Tiny Toon Adventures. That was it. That was my first audition.
Was it really?
First audition, first job, and I walked in, and everybody was really loud. Yes.
It's overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming,
And
especially
it's so
for a girl.
funny and so loud.
And they're doing all their voices, and I thought I could never do that, and so that was my story.
I could do 3 voices when I started.
Yeah.
Me younger, and a Valley Girl.
That's it. I would love to hear these guys' stories, though.
I had a little different route. I'm the oldest one up here. Many of you don't know this, but I, in fact, was the entertainment at the Last Supper. But in those days, you may recall, if you IMDb me, at the bottom of my list, you'll see me as Shecky of Arimathea. 12 Jews come in to dinner. No.
By the way, if you look Rob Paulsen up on the IMDb, your computer may not be able to scroll down. It's not, I think, the second longest listing on the entire Internet Movie
I agree.
database.
Well, thank God it's the
So
second
your
longest something.
computer may start smoking as it scroll.
God bless you. Thank you. But no, like most of us, I came out here when I was much younger, and my background is music. I've been a singer longer than anything, and I was in a bunch of rock and roll bands back in in Michigan, and back in Detroit, and had a stage background. And then when I came to Los Angeles, I was doing primarily on-camera stuff, lots of commercials, lots of episodic television, really horrible films. One in which I played a person named Larry Falkwell in a show called Stewardess School, in which I was a flight attendant about whom there was absolutely no confusion with respect to his sexual orientation. But my first cartoon job was actually on G.I. Joe, and that was in 1983, I think.
Really?
Before
Yeah.
Turtles?
Before Turtles, yeah. Ninja Turtles was the first big thing I did. That was in like 87, 88, I think, but the first show I did was G.I. Joe. And interestingly, I played somebody brought the toy this weekend. It was a character called Snow Job.
Just saying.
I'm just saying. Snow Job, who was a winter army guy, a guy who was on, a ski patrol kind of guy. But it was so disconcerting, and even then I thought, well, this is kind of silly. This guy Snow Job was covered from, head to foot with a white parka, white pants. His rifle is white as carbine, and he's got white everything because, of course, he's in the snow, but he's got a beard like Billy Connolly. It's like so all the Russian guys got to do is say, "Is Mr. Snow Job, shoot for his face." But, yeah, that was the first cartoon I did, and then fortunately it's gone on to a couple of other things.
Yeah.
And,
One or two.
and then
Just a little bit.
Go ahead, Dave.
That was fascinating.
Thank you.
So on that side.
Thank you.
So Momo.
I've had two firsts, actually. I kind of got
We don't want to know
I
about
got,
that one.
I got a first in, I got a first in Canada and then left Canada and had to start all over again.
Brilliant.
First thing I did
By the
was-
way, if I may say, there's only one person less famous than Maurice LaMarche, who comes from Timmins, Ontario.
That's true.
That's
Less famous?
Shania Twain.
Yeah, Shania. Timmins, Ontario has produced Shania Twain and the guy who plays the brain. Right there.
Brain.
As you go into the Timmins. But the part about the brain is written in crayon.
Shania Brain.
No, I did a cartoon called Easter Fever with Garrett Morris and Catherine O'Hara, and I did all the people on the day. On a day it's much like this. I played a character named Steve Martin, a wild and crazy horse, and Don Rattles, a rattlesnake with the voice of Don Rickles. And then I left Canada, came here, and I didn't get another voiceover job, and I guess I consider this my official start until 1985. And again, same story. I was doing stand-up comedy. Comedy store.
And brilliantly.
Brilliant
Very
stand-up.
kind and lying. Mildly amusing at best.
Brilliant.
By the way, I know what I said about you and your IMDb listing is totally as a compliment. This man has worked, folks. I mean, the list of credits is unbelievable. It's got nothing to do with age. He's, 70 months.
I'm coming, Jesus.
The same agents that took Candi hostage did so with me as well. And it took me about a year of knocking around the business, auditioning. I mean, if anybody in the room is thinking of a career in voiceover, do not get discouraged. From your first audition to your first job may be a while. So you may have to, continue waiting tables or selling toner and office supplies on the phone or whatever it may be, stand-up comedy. And then I scored with Inspector Gadget. I was the voice of the chief on the second season. And I thought...
I score with Inspector
I
Gadget.
thought this was the coolest job in the world because it really was comprised of listening to, reading 2 pages of script, sitting next to Frank Welker, and learning from Frank Welker, who taught me how to move a script completely silently, as well as all kinds of things about creating
That's the
character.
trick. No one ever tells anyone until they're at the session.
Exactly.
When you want
How
to
does-
slap them and go, please don't do that.
You're rustling the papers, big movie star. You know how to not rustle papers, Brad Pitt?
I was Andre Benjamin of whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Outcast.
Yeah, Outcast. Thank
Outcast.
you. And he walks in, and I didn't care. I walked up to him, I'm like, let me show you how to use the paper.
Right. Because otherwise you have to stop, and you can't get a good 5-page runway. So I did that, and the coolest thing about it was we'd do 2 pages, 3 pages of dialogue. We'd stop, and as soon as we stopped, Don Adams would start regaling us with stories of the making of Get Smart. And it would be like 10, 15-minute long stories, and then, you know, the director didn't have the stones to interrupt Don Adams. So everything that's on the special features of the Get Smart DVD box set, every story on there that Don Adams tells, I've already heard intimately, just the three of us sitting there with him smoking a cigarette going, I'll never forget the time that Rickles and I were chained to a wall. How cool is that? And they left us there. And I thought to myself, this is the greatest job in show business. And they mail a check 2 weeks later for reading aloud, the only skill I had and getting to hear a TV legend tell you great backstage stories. Phenomenal. So that was my introduction to the business.
That's cool.
Mr.